resistance and how that might show up in the life of a high performer, a high achiever, particularly us as women, the deep feelers, the broad thinkers, the carers, the leaders, the teachers of the world. It is in the lives of so many people, this experience of resistance where we feel like we're pushing up against something that's solid. And yet, a lot of the dysregulation, a lot of the stress that we experience actually happens from inside of us. And so, before we dive into today's topic, a simple word or phrase on how you might want to experience the next 30 minutes that we have together. So, intention for you as you settle into the space, something that you like, an energy or quality that you would like to take into the rest of your day, wherever you are in the world. Before we go any further, let's take a moment to get really clear on the trajectory that we want to bring into the rest of our day. One of the reasons why I'm posing this question this morning, and it directly applies to this theme of resistance, is because when we set an intention, we need to slow down enough to really connect with ourselves and the present moment. And that actually supports our brain function in turning on all parts of the brain, the parts that are creative, that see the bigger picture, that are calm, that are grounded. And it really allows us to be intentional with how we want to experience life and tap in even momentarily to those qualities that we want to expand on in our life, whether that's presence or calm or consistency, whatever that might be, and how you think, feel, and perform and how you show up. All right. So for those of you that are new here, my name is Violetta. You can call me Violet or V. And I host these free circles a few times a month, specifically for women that identify as high achieving, high performing, the deep feelers, the broad thinkers, the leaders. Because the way we operate and move through the world tends to be different than people who don't identify in this way. What we have in common is this internal drive. Often it's anxiety that's driving us forward, or this prevailing sense of overwhelm because of how much we take on and the intentions that we have. And we're always trying to strive towards something and show up a certain way, or to grow and evolve and always better ourselves. And we move through the world differently, and we require a different level and type of support, because not everyone has the intention to truly give back, not only into the outside world, but also to give back to ourselves and to ask these deeper questions on how can I experience my life better? How can I learn how to have my inside world match what it appears to be on the outside, all of the things that I've accomplished, all of the good that I have in my life. And the reason why I wanted to bring in this topic of resistance is because for those of you that know parts of my story, you'll know that for over a decade, I spent my years teaching and facilitating expeditions in emotional intelligence, mental performance, leadership. And I would travel all over the world with youth and adult leaders, really instilling what it means to challenge your comfort zone and how we can grow from it. And I would be in the most beautiful places, most remote places, like canoeing in Australia, or hiking in the outback, the mountains in Peru, the jungles in Cambodia, all over Southeast Asia. And I also identified with wanting to do good, wanting to be better, wanting to have a positive impact. And we are brought up in a world where our intelligence and our mental toughness is rewarded. And often you hear the rhetoric that pushing into the resistance is a good thing. That resilience means to get up and keep going and keep pushing through and keep pushing through. And as high achievers, the deep feelers, the ones that genuinely care about the impact that we have, that want to be leaders, that are stepping into these leadership roles, whether it's at work or at home, anywhere, any positioning in life, we have this mental toughness and this like energy reserve that even when we're exhausted, we will find that last ounce of energy to push through, show up, and be present for or be available for whatever is requiring our attention, whoever needs our attention. And often we even take on the responsibilities or the energy and the emotions of other people. And so, as I was navigating this industry for this decade that I was in, I was really good at pushing through, and I was really good at holding the mental and emotional well-being of so many people for weeks on end, their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, and not to mention the logistics that we were navigating leading these expeditions. And then there came a point where I realized that it felt like I was always pushing into resistance, that there was one challenge after the next, and that I was actually often overwhelmed and often disconnected from where I physically was. I can be in the most beautiful location, having a really beautiful experience and facilitating transformational experiences for my students. But there was a part of me that was like one foot out, always anticipating what could go wrong, what I need to do, what I still haven't done, what I should do. So I wasn't able to fully be present in the moment. And resistance would show up as anxiety, as overwhelm, this feeling that there's always more and that things just can't come easy. That if there's no resistance or if I'm not pushing hard, if I'm not moving through, then it might mean that I'm not doing enough. Because there was this underlying belief attached that it has to be hard in order for it to be worth it. That there has to be a level of struggle in order for it to mean that what I'm doing is enough, that the impact I'm having is enough, and that it's valuable. And so, as I was beginning to realize how much this resistance was really appearing in my life, I couldn't remember a time where I was without the resistance. So I started reflecting on my life, like before I got in this industry, when I was in university, in high school, and before. And there are very few memories after my high school years or during my high school years and onwards where I don't remember there being resistance. For a very long time, there has been this invisible wall that so many, not only myself, but so many of the women I work with, so many of the leaders of the world, the high achievers, the female leaders, are pushing in through every single day. And it's something that we've normalized, that that there needs to be a level of resistance. And then there's this experience where it's like when we push through, there's a level of peace and satisfaction waiting for us on the other end, but it's fleeting. So it never seems to last. So we never seem to fully arrive. And we are taught that resilience means to get up and keep going. And so imagine my surprise when I found myself really struggling to be present, to be fully available, to feel grounded emotionally and mentally when these were the skills that I was supposed to be teaching my students. Imagine my surprise. And it was in that moment that I realized that there was a missing piece. And I started to ask the question, is it actually possible to do good work while feeling your best, while showing up as your best, without sacrificing how you're actually feeling and experiencing life? Was it actually possible? Or does it have to be a compromise, like in order to feel good and peaceful and content and happy consistently? Does that mean I have to give up my ambition? Does it mean I have to give up the things that I want, that I can't actually have, the impact and the inner peace at the same time, that it can be only one or the other? And so I realized that the missing piece and why I was looping in this experience, the overwhelm, the anxiety, the push, perform, crash cycle over and over and over again throughout the years, was because I was disconnected from my physical body. I was disconnected from my emotions, and I didn't have the skills to understand the stress that was running internally and my nervous system. And so I worked a lot with the brain, and I did work a lot with the nervous system, how to hold in the challenge, how to grow when things are hard, how to be resilient and keep going and open yourself up to new experiences in life, how to see setbacks as an opportunity for growth. And yet, as leaders, the women that hold space for others, the deep feelers, it's not a coincidence that we often find ourselves in jobs and in positions where there is very little room for our emotional experience. There's a reason why we gravitate towards leadership positions, caring, teaching, or motherhood for some of us, for those that are mothers. It's not a coincidence that we gravitate towards those types of positions because inherently there's this deep feeler and carer in us. And yet, when we're always holding space for someone else without having learned how to experience our own emotional and stress cycles to completion, what tends to happen is we suppress our emotions because there's no room for them in the jobs and the roles that we hold. And this is what I realized was happening, that I had this mental toughness that so many of us have, this drive, this ambition, this push through mindset. Get it done even when you're tired at all costs. And yet I wasn't giving myself the space to meet the emotional experience that I was having in every moment, because I was always showing up for other people, always navigating their experience, their emotions, holding space. And I didn't know how to do that alongside also caring and tending to myself because I've never been taught. And so in my mind, and the pattern that I developed was that they cannot coexist, that I have to tend to those I lead and I teach and I care for. And then when that time is done, then I can tend to myself. Can anyone relate to this? It might not land, and that's okay too. And so it's that resistance that we're talking about. And resistance, what that is an experience that we interpret and perceive as solid. This invisible wall that we can't break through, but it's an invisible wall. And so, what is making it solid? Our internal experience and our interpretation of it. Our inability, in a way, to understand how to coexist and dance with the intensity of life without denying ourselves of our experience at the same time. And so, for me personally, during this journey, I realized that I didn't know how to feel my feelings. That was a foreign concept. It's like everything would be held inside until I would explode. And it would come out as either reactivity and anger or emotion, like, tears. And then once that episode was over, it would come back down. So there was like this shell that I had, this boundary, this wall between myself and where I was, who I was with, that couldn't fully be penetrated because I didn't know how to tend to myself while tending to others. Those two things were mutually exclusive. And this is the missing piece that I found that set me on the trajectory to studying neuropsychology, somatic psychology. I'm a certified holistic counselor, meditation teacher, breath. And it's like the puzzle piece finally fit together, and I realized that, oh my goodness, it's totally possible to experience life fully and still progress in the direction that you want. That I don't have to sacrifice my well-being and my presence and my calm in the moment, even when there's challenges around me, so long as I know how to be with my internal experience, how to be with the resistance, and how to understand it. Because resistance isn't there by accident. It's there for two reasons. The first reason, it's a signal. The resistance is there asking the question, what are you not seeing here? What story is my mind creating about what's possible or what isn't possible? How am I viewing the person or situation in front of me? Where do I feel powerless and like I'm losing my sense of agency, or there isn't room for me because other things are more important? So that's number one. And number two, resistance also shows up when you are in the process of growth, your evolution, and stepping into your next level and breaking patterns that you've been trying and working hard to break for years. So it's either a signal that it's showing you, ask these deeper questions. Where can you heal and evolve and let go internally? Or number two, you're right on the edge. You're right on the edge of stepping into that next version of you and releasing those mental or emotional patterns or blocks that you've been working on releasing. This is because our nervous system and our brain learn through repetition and through safe connection. That's why spaces like this are important for sustainable change, and the membership, the regulation room that I hold, my private mentorship with women for those that are ready for deeper and more individualized support. True, lasting, and sustainable change happens through repetition and safe connection. And so often when you've been doing a certain thing, practicing a certain thing, and you're meeting that resistance and you're getting frustrated and you're like, I should be more healed. This should be over. I should have it figured out by now. Why does this keep happening? But you're coming back to certain skills and practices that bring you back into regulation, because resistance is dysregulation. Emotional groundedness is regulation. To be grounded and anchored in the storm, even if you don't like what you see around you. That gives you the ability to consciously choose how you show up, how you respond, and how you feel in that moment. And so if you have tools or skills that are, or you're working on them, developing them because it's a skill, just like the habits and patterns that we live through now, they didn't happen overnight. They developed over the years as a need to help us move through the world and survive and belong. And so they're not going to be released just through having one breakthrough or talking about it. The way the patterns truly shift is by connecting with your emotional experience and learning to close that stress cycle, that stress loop in the physical body. And when you keep practicing and coming back to that, what you're actually doing is expanding your ability to stay anchored and regulated, but you're also staying with the resistance. Now, only if you've experienced this will you viscerally understand what I mean by that. But staying with is not the same as pushing past or pushing through. So often what happens is we feel this resistance. It's like a solid that we're brushing up against, and then we get reactive. The overwhelm sets in, the busy mind sets in. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? What did I do? What didn't I do? Is it enough? Is it not enough? Am I enough? Am I good enough? Maybe this isn't the right place for me. Maybe I should have made different decisions. So when we're pushing up as that resistance as solid, our mind starts to go. So we're getting further and further away from that calm capacity inside, that inner leader that you've all felt, the calm, grounded one that can hold in difficult situations and show up when she's needed and hold intensity when it's required. But without finishing the stress loop in the body, the push, perform, crash cycle, and those emotional patterns of like overwhelm, anxiety, reactivity, anger, frustration, they're just going to keep repeating. And so we've been taught that you should keep pushing past, but then you're pushing past the resistance as if it's solid, but it's not, because it's an internal experience that's creating it. This is why you can stand and like you can be in the same situation in two different moments in your day, or like after a certain amount of sleep, like when you're fully rested and you go into that office with those colleagues that you don't fully see eye to eye with, and it feels easier to navigate than, let's say, if you didn't get enough sleep and you go there and everything is annoying you and everyone is stupid and why don't they get it? The situation and the people haven't changed, but your internal experience of that moment has shifted because you're different in that moment. And so the natural thing that we have been conditioned to do is to keep pushing through. And we're told that that means you're resilient. That means you're, a good person, a go-getter. Just keep going, pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and keep going. But where is there room in that methodology for you to feel the emotional experience of whatever is going on? Because when we learn to stay with the resistance, now staying with is not the same as pushing through. Staying with means that you're able to hold in the intensity of that resistance. You're able to notice the physical body sensations that happen, the faster heartbeat, the shoulders are like tensed up. You feel the overwhelm or like that crushing weight on your chest. You notice the spiraling thoughts or that they're looping that are really pulling you away from presence. And you're able to hold in that and know what to do to bring yourself back to grounded, centered, and calm. This is a skill, and it takes practice, repetition, and spaces of safe connection to be able to learn it so that you can fully embody the leader that you're here to be. Because most people can push through the resistance. Most people can push through hard times. Most people can show up when they're exhausted and do what's required of them and hold space for other people. Most people can do that, but very few have learned the skill of holding in those challenging moments and making their way back to peace before the reactivity takes over. And as you continue to practice the skills of regulation, you'll notice that the gap between reactivity and peace and coming back starts to shorten. It starts to get smaller. So maybe it would take you like a week for you to feel normal and like yourself again. And then you keep practicing, and it's uncomfortable. That's why most people don't do it. And the gap gets smaller and smaller. And suddenly you realize that in most moments, you can stay connected to yourself. You can tend to yourself while standing in front of all of the responsibilities, people, and things that need you or where you're needed in that moment without getting pulled into the drama, without getting pulled into their emotional experience or their reactions. And now both of us are reactive. And now everything is escalating. Being a leader is really hard. This is why most people are not good leaders. Because leadership, embodied leadership, goes beyond knowing what to do, knowing what to say to people, knowing how to help them get to their objectives. True leadership requires having learned the skill of expanding your emotional threshold and capacity to hold in all of the discomfort of humans being humans and to hold in the discomfort of what it triggers inside of you. And this is really uncomfortable and it's a skill and it's really hard. Being a leader is really hard. And also it's one of the most rewarding things, right? Like when you're in front of your people, when you're caring for your people at work or at home, and you see the impact that your presence is having, or you have those beautiful moments of connection and everything is flowing and everything is feeling good. It's like those are the moments that you really feel you're like, oh, it's worth it. Even these challenging times, like this is a good moment. Like, what a beautiful privilege that we get to step into being leaders in our lives. But we cannot be good leaders. We cannot be relaxed leaders if we don't know how to tend to ourselves and our emotional landscape alongside holding that space and that same care and attention to others. And that missing link is learning to stay with the resistance and understand what it's asking of you, what it's communicating. Is it a signal for deeper self reflection and skill building? Is it a signal that maybe you should or need to pivot directions? That actually the things that are chaotic outside of you, you would benefit to switch things up so that you can have more calm around you as well that influences how you feel? Or is the resistance actually a signal that you're right on your threshold to breaking that pattern and stepping into that next version of you that your goals, that your life requires of you? Because in order to step into the relaxed leader, that next version of you that has more impact, more peace, more presence, more calm, will require you to let go of past versions of you. It will require you to let go of old belief systems, old ideologies, and also old emotional patterns, the ones that have kept you safe and feel comfortable. Because as you're learning to operate and lead in a way where you feel grounded and steady internally, most of the time, not all of the time because we're humans, but most of the time, it's going to be a very uncomfortable experience that brings up a lot of resistance because that overwhelm and that anxiety and that busy looping mind of like overthinking is really familiar, because that's been the strategy that your inner system has been using for years and years and years to help you keep moving forward in life. But in order to have a new experience now requires to do something different. And a part of that is growing comfortable in the discomfort of peace. Isn't that a contradiction? How can peace be uncomfortable? Because when your system is used to anxiety or overwhelm or urgency, slowness, steadiness, calm is uncomfortable. It often feels boring at first, or you feel like something is like you're missing something important, like you should be doing more. And that resistance is actually a really beautiful place to be because it shows that you're actively working on breaking that pattern and stepping into a new way of being, living, and feeling. And to be a relaxed leader does not mean you're calm and grounded all the time. To be a relaxed leader means that you have expanded your internal capacity to hold in the discomfort and turbulence and resistance that life brings up. Being a leader is hard because it's way more than about showing up for other people. It's also how you show up for yourself and stay with the intensity that you feel without running away from it, without projecting it onto someone else. To stay in the discomfort that being in a situation of conflict, for example. And the interesting thing about regulation is it's like you can feel the discomfort of being in conflict with someone or something and also feel that anchor deep inside of you. It's like you feel that storm happening and you're like, oh my goodness, this is uncomfortable, but you still stay anchored instead of getting pulled into the drama and getting reactive. Reactivity is the natural way that most of us have learned and operate because that's the nervous system keeping us safe. It's keeping us safe from feeling rejected. It's keeping us safe from failure. It's keeping us safe from possibly making the wrong decision. And you get to choose if that's how you want to continue to navigate the world. You get to choose it. How cool is that? Not in the moment, of course, it's a skill, but you get to choose to learn a different way. And this is a part of the reason why I hold this free space a few times a month, because there needs to be a space that you lean into to be able to ask these deeper questions and not be fully alone doing it either, to normalize that this is a human experience that so many of us are navigating and learning the skills of being relaxed, happy, and successful at the same time. If any of this resonated for you, or you notice resistance in your life, or those moments where you get caught in the cycle of just pushing through and doing, and you're wanting to experience a different way, I have a free 6-minute audio for you to try out. It's not a meditation, it's an active somatic audio that uses more of your body to really complete the stress cycle of that urgency or anxious or overwhelmed pattern. So, when we work the system, depending on where we are inside ourselves, sometimes meditation is going to be amazing. And then sometimes it requires a different type of practice or movement from our body to actually complete that stress cycle internally. And so I have a 6-minute audio for you to try out if you would like, if you're noticing particularly those moments of urgency, hypervigilance, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, for these specific red flags that we notice, or these points of resistance. So you can get that at expandandimpact.com/audio reset, audio reset, and you could download it straight into your inbox. So expandandimpact.com/audio reset. And I invite you to try it out. It's going to be maybe a new experience for many of you. And I invite you to stay open to see how it lands in your body and to see what, if anything, has shifted even after that 6 minutes. I personally use this one a lot. And the ladies inside of my membership community as well have a bunch of these types of audios to use in their life to support their regulation and expanding that capacity internally as well. So I'd love to offer this free audio for you to try out for yourself if it resonates. We explore topics like this that circulate the specific experiences of those high performers, deep feelers, broad thinkers, the leaders, the teachers, the carers of the world, so that you can learn a sustainable pathway towards stepping into your happiest, most relaxed, and successful version of you, and defining leadership and success on your terms, and really being able to stay anchored in that, even when the challenges of life are around you, even when the expectations around you are different. And a big part of this is the nervous system work, the regulation work of noticing the discomfort and intensity and coming back and coming back and coming back and coming back. And the more you return, the more you stay with, the more you expand your capacity to truly hold in that center. So this is the gift I hope to leave with you today.